With it being October, this is the perfect time to get out my review of Tormented Souls. We played through this game about a month ago, and we did this all with a press key provided by a developer. So what we have here is an unapologetic love letter to the late 90s, early 2000s survival horror boom, with all the greatness and warts that may entail. So our story is that we are this lovely lady here who received a mysterious letter beckoning her to go to a strange mental asylum. And unfortunately, upon arriving, she is attacked, there are monsters around, and of course there's some strange evil going around that we must save ourselves from. So, as I said a minute ago, this is classic survival horror gameplay. You have fixed camera angles, very basic combat, and of course managing your health, ammo, and so on. With that said, Tormented Souls does do a few different things with the formula. The first being the use of lighting. For the first half of the game, you are restricted as to where you can and can't go based on the light sources, because if you're in the dark for too long, you are dead. And our only available light source for the first half of the game is the lighter. And of course, with the lighter itself, you are not able to wield a weapon at the same time. So you get into this kind of Doom 3 shenanigan of having to keep the lighter out, move around, see an enemy, get into a spot where you actually have some natural light, and then switch to your weapon to then fight them. As you explore, you'll also come across the other mental asylum or mental hospital. And yes, this game definitely took some cues from Silent Hill. When you go into the other world, this is used for very specific puzzle solving, with things you do there changing what's happening in the real world and vice versa. While it's not as massive as what we saw in Silent Hill, it is a nice touch nonetheless. Now, with that said, Tormented Souls hits just about every note of a survival horror game from the time period, and if you're not into that kind of design, then the game is just not going to work for you. And that is also a really good segue in talking about the puzzle design. The puzzles in Tormented Souls are definitely on the advanced side. We're talking Silent Hill 2 levels of, riddles and tricks in order for you to figure things out. This definitely reaches a major point about a quarter to halfway through the game when you're given a key that has multiple symbols on it, and you have to use these symbols to figure out the correct pattern on 4 different doors with 4 different uses of symbology. And that is still not the hardest puzzles in this game. And definitely give a shout out to the developers for coming with some insane puzzle logic and challenges. So with that said, Tormented Souls is one of those games that you will know very quickly whether or not this is a game for you, probably in the first 20 to 30 minutes of play. Because like I said, everything this game does hits those same notes. But that does present a problem when we talk about modern horror and modern survival horror design, and where the game tends to falter, at least when it comes to approachability. And we'll talk about that next, but first, a quick break. If you're interested in my books on design, then be sure to check these out. For entry-level students, we have 20 essential games to study, and then the Game Design Deep Dive series that takes an extensive look at different genres, with free-to-play coming in 2022. Your enjoyment of Tormented Souls is really going to come down to where you fall on kind of the evolution or where survival horror went. If you're a fan of more action horror style games like Dead Space, Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6, or if you like kind of the modernized takes of RE7, 8, RE Remake 2, and 3, Tormented Souls, I think, may be a little too old school for you. As I said in the last part, this is classic survival horror, which means the puzzles can easily stump you. The game has a habit of kind of introducing an item or an important object, and then not really giving you any kind of reminder or hint as to where it's supposed to go. So you're going to do a lot of backtracking. And while enemies do not respawn outside of specific story plot beats, it can still be very frustrating and confusing if you get off the beaten path or you forget where something was. And I'm just going to admit right here that about a quarter to halfway through the game, I just got my fill of the puzzles and just went to a guide for every solution. And I think part of that was also that these puzzles, again, fall into that very advanced state where good luck trying to read the puzzle logic in some cases. In the last part, I mentioned the 4 keys and the symbology that went with it. And even with a guide open, looking at the literal solutions, I still couldn't figure out where the logic was for why this went with that and so on. And you're going to stumble into a lot of those cases in Tormented Souls. Now, the combat itself is just okay. It is your garden variety kind of active, hold your gun, you are stuck in place, shoot enemy until dead. You do get a little bit of a backstep. But again, if you're hoping for more of an involved combat system, like in RE2 Make, RE7 and 8 and so on, that's not in this game. The enemy variety is okay, but they do repeat a lot of encounters. There are a few quote-unquote boss fights in the game, but nothing that will really tax you in terms of combat. Tormented Souls is definitely more Silent Hill than it would be Resident Evil, as in that this is puzzles and exploration first, combat and fighting second. And for people looking for that kind of gameplay, Tormented Souls is going to work for you, I think, all across the board. And like I said, if this is these developers' first time making a horror game, then they really did nail the kind of height or golden age of survival horror design. But if you are looking for anything that's more modernized or an elevated or iterative take on survival horror, Tormented Souls just doesn't really go that far. As I said, this is a love letter to that golden age. And if you are looking for something brand new that you haven't seen before, this is the wrong game for you. So to wrap things up, ultimately, I did enjoy Tormented Souls. It's not going to be my favorite survival horror game of all time, but if you are, again, a fan of the age of Silent Hill 2, the original Resident Evil trilogy, and games like that, then you owe it to yourself to play Tormented Souls and spend a lot of time fighting monsters in the dark and stumbling around through puzzles. But if you are more of a modern gamer and the last horror game you played and you enjoy was something like Resident Evil 8, then this game may be too much of a throwback. But with that said, thank you for watching this video. Check out the Discord and Patreon, all that linked down below. Do all the liking and smashing that people tell you to do. And I'd like to thank the developers for giving me a press key to check this one out. If you'd like me to play your game in the future, please get in touch and come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where some of the art and science of games. Once again, this has been Tormented Souls, and until next time, take care.